Greetings and welcome to another edition of AUHSD Future Talks. I'm your host, Superintendent Matsuda, Superintendent of the Anaheim Union High School District, 29,000 students, 5 cities, and we have about 7,000 online and podcast listeners now. We're really, really proud of those numbers. And as our audience knows, this show is all about the future of education and what the AUHSD is doing to help prepare our young people for a very uncertain future in this country and beyond. So I have 2 very special guests. They've been guests before, but today we're talking about something on every educator's mind across the district. There's a lot of attention on this concept of community schools, and to help us understand what community schools are and what the AUHSD version of community schools are, we have none other than our ASTA president, the Teachers Union president, Grant Schuster, and our own director, Mr. Carlos Hernandez, director of community schools. Welcome, gentlemen, to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So right off the bat, I'm going to start with Grant. What is the definition of community schools? And because, it's kind of all over the place. What is your understanding of community schools, and why is AUHSD different? And when I say different, it seems like the state has awarded us disproportionate amount of grants. So let's go into that a little bit.
Well, a little over a year ago, we saw an opportunity as the local association to write a grant to help organize around this idea of community schools. We knew the district was already interested and had looked at Anaheim and Sycamore as an opportunity to start building community schools. And so we went and got a grant to help us organize the most important starting piece, which is a steering committee that brought together these education partners, teachers, parents, students, community groups, and the administration to work towards building a center of the community that would not just be a center of schooling, but a center of democracy, where voices that traditionally have been silenced or stifled would be uplifted, and we'd hear from everyone in the community and deal with everything from not just family and community engagement or support services, but also extending learning time and opportunities and a culturally relevant curriculum to just help people understand that in your own community, you have a voice in every aspect of your school, and our district wants to share that ability to come in and have a voice and help make decisions on the direction we want our schools to go.
And it seems like the state, they really paid attention to this broader and deeper definition by awarding us significant dollars. And Carlos Hernandez, could you share with the audience what that award means to us?
Oh, like Graham mentioned, we had 2 pilot community schools in Sycamore and Anaheim, and the fact that we started doing this work, and the fact that our teacher union said this is that important that they're going to double down in this. So this partnership, we knew that we were going to be able to do good things and go farther together. So when we submitted our application through this lens of collaborative shared leadership, where every one of those important educational partners are at the table helping make decisions, and it is raising their voice, students thriving, families thriving, community thriving. We shared as we applied that we have partnerships, we have relationships, we have systems and structures, and we have a vision that is crystal clear, that it is about our students thriving and they're meeting their unlimited you. So when we submitted for 13 schools, they quickly, in a month turnaround time, responded by saying, congratulations, all 13 of your schools that you submitted should be community schools, and we're funding them to be that.
And by the way, gentlemen, I just signed the acknowledgement of receiving $24 million from the state of California. So that is a record amount, and disproportionately, I think, puts AUHSD, in terms of, you look at our numbers, right, our students. Based on how much we got, we probably came in number 1 or number 2 in the state of California. Now, it's my understanding, Carlos, that our model, as Grant was saying, goes beyond the traditional sort of definition of sort of wraparound services. In fact, we've been doing that with social workers and the food banks and dental clinics and all of that, much of that through our partnerships with the nonprofit community, but also funded through our general fund. So could you, again, go a little bit deeper in terms of this whole teacher-led model and actually funding these teachers at every site? That's really exciting.
That's right. And as we share our model, people kind of their jaws drop to say, "What? That's your model?" So in essence, you described that traditional model, and we have a community school coordinator, one at every site, which is that traditional model, that classified person that does help coordinate those traditional services, which are critical. We now bring in a community school teacher lead, one at every site, that helps make the connection from in the classroom out, right? So as we know, family community engagement is critical in the classroom, but our students are critical in making the connection to instruction. So community schools approach is about learning, is about students thriving in the classroom. And I'll give you some examples. Grant mentioned that the expanded and enriched learning, that pillar for community schools, is just as robust as the other traditional models, because we've been working on career pathway development, because we've been working on and towards student voice and purpose, civic engagement that is happening in the classroom. And we're making connections to our partners, our over 70 industry partners, for internships and career readiness opportunities. We are not waiting for them to graduate college to be able to do something in their community. As professionals, they are doing something right now by building their capacity within the classroom in that setting and working out, using their voice, using their passion, their interest, and what they see as potential issues in their community, whether it's food insecurities, whether it's poverty. Right? They are using this, the learning that they have in the classroom, not after school, not on Saturdays, but Monday through Friday, they are using that time to make an impact to those particular challenges in our community.
So Grant, what Carlos has described is something that goes sort of beyond the traditional model, bringing the teacher to the forefront of teaching and learning, both applying and problem solving, right? Because as Michael Fullen, the education consultant, national guru, has said that K-12 institutions have not done a very good job preparing kids for so many challenges ahead for them, from climate change and, as Carlos mentioned, food insecurity and all these other things. How, as a teachers union president, and you talk to a lot of others, do you think that this model has traction because there's so much money being poured into community schools? Why doesn't it, if it's so good, why doesn't it have more traction with others trying to emulate a teacher-led community school?
I think this is just the beginning, and seeing community schools getting this large investment. There were teacher groups, there were teacher unions here. Anaheim was part of a coalition with LA and Oakland and San Francisco that really pushed CTA to make demands of the governor's office about education to put more money into this sort of idea. But specifically what we're looking at, we want to develop the systems and the structures that will make sure the sorts of innovations that are coming out of the community have a place to go and have a place in the process so that they can be implemented. And an example we have here, it was students and teachers for a couple of years, whether it was a social studies class at Catella or a science class at Magnolia, that were recognizing food deserts and sustainability issues, and writing was going on and science experiments were going on, and people wrote grants to build aquaponic gardens. And then the district saw the value in this and found land to create the Agri-Science Center at Magnolia. And we did all this on our own. But now when we're creating the systems and structures everywhere, so they're in place, and no matter what school you're at and what community you're in, if it's a community school, the parents and the students in the community have the opportunity to have their voices lifted where they traditionally haven't, and be a part of making those decisions. And we've seen here in Anaheim what an incredible reward we get when we democratize our classrooms and our educational system, and our students and our parents and our communities are able to speak out in ways and access the educations that they want and be able to implement them in the communities that they want in their future.
Carlos, Grant has mentioned this word democratize, and it's unfortunately right now it's something that many educators feel is at risk. Do you think that this model of community schools is going to enhance democracy, and in what ways do you think it would do that?
Well, democracy is about our voices being lifted up, not someone making decisions for us, but us being in the room making decisions, because we know, as someone and many people have put it, the neighborhood folks, its students and its parents, they are the ones making decisions because they're the experts that are aware about the needs and their strengths. And let's not forget that the assets that they bring. And so absolutely democratizing, education, it is about impacting the community. It is about impacting their neighborhood. Our students have their voice. They're finding their purpose. And that supports them obviously in their academic trajectory to fulfill their self-actualization, to fulfill their unlimited you. And it also helps support their mental health state because they have purpose now. They know where they're going. And obviously our families have just the same opportunity, will have and enhanced opportunities through our community schools approach. Of course, our staff are just critical in that fostering and that learning for students thriving and families thriving.
Do you think, Grant, that this challenge for public schools across the country of the public losing trust in this major institution that has propelled the previous generation to achieve this thing called the American dream, do you think that the AUHSD community school model is going to help build more trust in our public schools with the at-large community?
I absolutely think the structures that we're putting in place, we have the steering committee already, and you have individual parents, and you have community groups that are sitting down at the table on a regular basis. It goes down to the site level where students and parents and teachers and community groups are together working with the site administration, and it's even in the classroom with the ideas that we have about raising student voice and having them have choices in the work that they do and how they present it. It's the model that is going to bring more democracy than a version of education that was about standardized testing and trying to hold people accountable every other day over what goes on in every minute of the school day. That this sort of freedom is what allows the democracy to grow and to nurture students as they're developing their beliefs and their understanding of their place as a citizen in our community.
So, Carlos, Grant mentioned that there's a steering committee sort of helping with oversight. What are some of the metrics or some of the things that they're going to be looking for in terms of measuring success of community schools?
Yeah, that's the loaded question, Mike. I'm glad you asked that because we that the grant, as we applied for it, they wanted to know currently where are we with our graduation rates, with our attendance rates, our students' discipline rates, and the traditional metrics in that regards, and of course academic achievement, and we will see. But we will see by this work, as we already see the work that is already going on, those numbers are increasing. Those graduation rates continue to increase. I think more than any other numbers, we want to know how students are thriving. What are the examples that students are thriving? At the end of the day, student-centered approach is about the community schools approach. So how are students doing in college? Once they get into college, do they have the skill set, the ability, the voice, the purpose to be able to continue to instill hope? We see that with our partnership with our pledge partners. UC Irvine showed rates of additional higher persistence rate with our students in compared to other students that didn't come from Anaheim Union. So we know that is to be true. And so those are the kinds of metrics that we're going to find. We're going to see, of course, our traditional metrics will continue to increase. We know that our parent voice, our student voice, will continue to increase the upskilling of our families to be able to support our students in the classroom, and that our students, that are potentially, it can event to homeless students that are in all intents and purposes traditionally have lost hope. There is just as much hope for them in this community schools approach with success.
So Grant, do you think that what we're proposing, and we're not there yet, but it's very aspirational, that this is going to transform the way school is done? That this is a new type of school experience?
This will be my 27th year in the district, and California is famous for finding new programs, the next program that's going to solve things for people. This is the program that lets our students and teachers and community solve things themselves, to bring forward whatever solutions are needed in their particular neighborhood. It's not about, we put the system in place, but then we raise people up to make the decisions themselves. And I think that's the transformational aspect of this. There's going to be places that go ahead and pay an outside company to come in and run their community schools. And that's going to be a shame when they do that, because we are going to show communities around the state and around the country what this model can do inside of a community to transform and bring democracy and solutions, community-based solutions to particular community-based problems, and then uplift all of those students going through the system to be ready to do whatever they want to do in this 21st century that has a completely different requirement for skill sets and understanding that public schools did back when we were in class.
Wow. So in the few minutes that we have left, I'm going to ask both of you the same question, starting with Carlos. What is this going to look like? What would you like to see this look like in 5 to 7 years?
In 5 to 7 years, I would love to see that in every experience that our students have in every day, every period, it is relevant, it is engaging, they are excited, they are happy, it is fun. What is happening to with them, alongside them in the classroom, outside of the classroom, they continue their learning, an internship opportunity. Our parents, while through the needs that they do bring, are able to get through that so that they can then find themselves with their meeting their old goals and outcomes, sharing their stories with others, right? So we have parents sharing stories of success, students sharing their voice and purpose and taking action in their community that leads to change, that leads to that unlimited you that we so hope for. And our teachers are loving their engaging environments in their classroom, and the school is just a happy, joyful place to be. And that's what I see.
Yeah, that is a beautiful vision, given the alienation of young people and the isolation of so many young people, and getting angry and violent, ended up and doing some horrific acts that we've seen in Buffalo and Texas and other areas. So I really think I would agree that if we can bring that joy back into the classroom, that's key. Grant, what are your hope for aspirations in 5 to 7 years?
I would really hope, I look forward to seeing in 5 years that our community partners, our parents, our students, our teachers, that not only do they have the schools that they deserve with all of these structures that we've talked about implementing, but they understand that their voice, and that they have a voice, and that they're part of the solution to any problem that they see, whether it's on their campus or in their community, that they see their role in solving things, and that they also understand that they've gained the skills to solve those problems through what they've done in our classes and our extracurricular activities, because of the freedoms that we've given to our teachers, to our students, and our communities to build the schools that they want.
I think Grant, yours and ASTA's voice has always been consistent about, in order to unleash the innovation and creativity of our kids, we have to unleash that with our teachers. And this model, I think, truly addresses that. So on behalf of our 30,000 students and their families and the leaders from our 5 cities, we really commend you two leaders coming together to create something really special, not only for Anaheim, but potentially for the state of California and beyond. So congratulations to both of you, and we look forward to hearing more and more stories coming out of AUHSD community schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.